What is up, everybody? My name is Zach Golden. Thanks for joining us for this LabPadre coverage of Starship's 10th flight test. As you guys can tell, we have revamped the format of the stream. So, know a lot of people have been wanting us to be on camera for a long time. So, we finally made that happen. Took a lot of work in the background just to make it actually look good. I think it turned out pretty well. So, hopefully, you guys enjoy it. And we have a few people with us today. Of course, the man, the myth, the legend, LabPadre with us out there at the Rocket Ranch viewing outpost.
How's it going, Zach? It's good to see you again, man. It's been a while.
I know, I know. Yeah, I'm sad I couldn't be out there. I was actually out there like a week ago, and I was gonna stay, but I was like, I had so many other things to do, so didn't want to like come home and then fly right back out. But you know, viewing it from home is almost better
Yeah,
sometimes because you get to see all of the different views and
all the views.
yeah,
Yeah,
exactly.
yeah, man. It's great to have you on the stream with us again. Go ahead.
Yeah, I'll introduce our other guests. We also have Caden with us. Caden, thanks for joining us.
Howdy, howdy. Good to be with y'all.
Awesome. And
Howdy.
Caden, you were saying earlier you have your own YouTube channel. You want to give a shout out for that?
Yeah,
For
so
those who.
I do. Yeah, I do have a little channel. It's called Appempathy. So AP and then the word empathy. I do a number of things on there, just kind of whatever I want, whenever I want. Uh, Go check it out.
Awesome. Yeah, and we also have Pierre with us, and Pierre runs a channel called Starbase FR. So it's a French, basically French YouTube channel that basically covers starships. I've been doing it, I think, even longer than I have. So thanks for joining us, Pierre.
It's my pleasure, really. So thanks for having me, and yeah, really excited for this flight.
Glad to have you with
Awesome.
us, Pierre.
And for those that were wondering, I don't know if Lab, you want to touch on this yourself, but we do have Steven from Spaceflight Now with us as well. He is going to be jumping back and forth between this coverage and their live stream. So I'm not sure if he's with us right now, but he will be in and out. So if Steven, if you wanted to say what's up, if you are on right now.
Wait. Yeah, he's here with us. We have Stephen Clark. He's actually with Ars Technica, formerly with Spaceflight Now. He
Sorry
is
about
here with us today, and
that.
Hey guys, I'm happy to join.
It's funny having that camera because we could see. Oh man. Yeah, so very exciting times. A lot of us have been waiting for Flight 10 for probably about 2 months now. As most of y'all know, we were expecting this back in, what is that? End of June, was it supposed to be?
yeah, it was supposed to be the end of June.
Yeah, so as most of y'all know, um, obviously we had an anomaly with the ship that was supposed to be slated for Flight 10. Ship 36 blew up during testing, and I think that immediately ruined a lot of people's day, if not the summer, because we're really looking forward to that, and immediately kind of thought that this would be the until next year before we saw a flight because of the damage that was sustained to the test facility, which was basically crucial for pre-flight testing, specifically static firing the next ship. So obviously losing the vehicle and then having massive damage to the pad. Really thought that we were going to have to wait for them to completely rebuild the static fire test stand and the methane tank farm and pretty much everything that was damaged. But luckily, SpaceX was able to come up with a plan to static fire the ship on the launch mount and basically prevented us from having to wait another 2 months until we see the next launch. So I think that, at first, I think a lot of us were kind of shocked that they would attempt something like that and maybe thought it wasn't the greatest idea. But in retrospect, I think it turned out really well. And, a lot of the worries may have kind of been for nothing because they pulled it off in a way that made it seem like they always had that plan. They modified one of the transport stands in order to sit on top of the launch mount inside of the hold down clamps that are basically meant for the booster. And then they modified the booster QD in order to allow it to use the same plumbing from the booster in order to fill the ship. And that actually turned out pretty well. It was a little bit underwhelming, I would say, especially the first static fire test when they did a single engine test, because we really weren't able to see much because of the water deluge system. That single engine really didn't displace much of that water, and you did get a pretty good steam cloud out of it. But for the most part, it kind of, unless you knew that it happened, you almost could barely even see it. The six engine test was a little bit better. If not, you could actually see the exhaust plume from the ship a little bit better. But definitely nothing like a booster test on the launch mount. So yeah, either way, great that they actually were able to pull that off, and without any issues. They did actually have to swap engines out on ship 37 after that test, and then they came back out the next week and did a spin prime test. That turned out well. So I think we should be good for today, and fingers crossed that they've finally got the issues related to well, I guess it all comes down to plumbing. I guess every flight that we've had, the last 3 flights, have all seen issues. um from the outside looking in, it might seem like it's been the same thing repeated, but at least from SpaceX's explanation, it's been different things on pretty much every single flight. So hopefully they've finally got it figured out. We really want to get back to seeing successful flights of Starship. So um, I'm hoping that they are able to turn things around today, because if not, then there's only one more version 2 ship left. And I don't know. I feel like if this one fails, then people will probably lose faith in the next one. But I don't know. It's rare for SpaceX to have repeated issues. Every flight they've had some issue, even though most of them have been successful for the most part. There's always some issue. Some of them we're not even really aware of for the most part. But it's, with it being a test program, there's always going to be things that go wrong. But oh, man, not to the degree that they have been over the last 3 flights. So I'm hoping SpaceX gets back to their normal form, which is just uh, kicking butt and taking names. And I think I have a positive outlook for today. What do you guys think?
Well, I agree, and it's very interesting what you mentioned earlier about it seemed like they always had that plan in place after the Ship 36 accident. I I've always said, like, never underestimate SpaceX's ability to make things work, even if it's a bit of a jerry-rigged solution like what we've seen with Ship 37's campaign. But um, dare I say, I am positive that lightning will not strike a 4th time, and I am excited to be on the way to seeing ships re-enter again.
What about you,
I want
Pierre?
to I want to share your sorry I want to share your optimism as well. But yeah, I think the latest events at Starbase reminded us that, like you said, Zach, that it's still a test program, and I think we've been actually very spoiled with the first couple of flights, and that we tend to forget that anything can happen from they can put off the best, the neatest flight ever. We might see the flight 10 absolutely hitting the targets with all the objectives, but we could also see another malfunctions. We never know. And I think it was pretty interesting to see how we forgot. I mean, some of us, part of the community, forgot that it was a test program basically. And I remember when we were watching the SN flights, we had a couple of malfunctions. I mean, if you think of SN8, SN9, I mean, SN10 actually nailed the landing but then exploded, and then SN11 just disappeared in the clouds. And then we had the success of SN15, and even though now we actually witness a full stack launching every time, we never know what can happen, and it's still a test program. So, and in my opinion, the road is still very, very long, and the main question is, are they going to manage to open the door today? That's the main question.
That is
Yeah.
true. Hoping weather pulls through.
Yeah, the laymen out there they don't really realize that this is all research and development. They think that you know, these things go up and they're supposed to do what they're supposed to do right away, and that's just not the case. You know, all of us that watch here all the time, we see what's going on, and we see the testing and all the experiments that they do, and so you got to take it with a grain of salt. And they've gone through a few failures here and there, learned a lot, gained a lot of data, and I think we're going to see something spectacular today. Either way, it's going to be spectacular.
I will interrupt for just a moment. We have a $20 super chat from Stumpy001. Compliments to Zach. Says Zach's the smartest guy that they know when it comes to SpaceX. Beautiful insights.
I appreciate that. I don't feel like I'm the smartest person in terms of this. Definitely get a lot of help from a lot of people in the community, because it is impossible to watch this stuff 24/7. But you know, when you have a team of people who are all paying attention, and you can put the story together, it really is super helpful. But yeah, definitely appreciate that, Stumpy. And for those of you who were joined us for the RGB stream earlier today, thanks for coming here as well too. Got about an hour break in between those streams before hopping on to here. So, you know, quite a long day, but definitely happy to be here. And, you know, this is going to be a really exciting test, I'm hoping. You know, I think we should speak on some of the things as far as objectives for today. Maybe we'll start with
The door.
the Flight 9 report. So, for those who aren't aware of the post from SpaceX regarding the post incident report, they did mention both the method of failure for the booster and the ship. So, we got some pretty good information on that. So, with the booster, as most of you may remember, it actually failed during the landing burn. So, it did a successful boost back, and during its landing burn, obviously this was booster 14.1, which had flown on, oh boy, flight 7, I want to say. Was it flight 7? I think it was flight 7. So it was its second flight, and they wanted to try a new landing profile, a more aggressive landing profile. And so for that reason, they decided to do ocean landing, just in case things went wrong. And it's a good thing that they did that, because it definitely would have been bad if that happened over land. Uh, but basically what they said was that Super Heavy flew at a significantly higher angle of attack than previous flights during its descent back to Earth, reaching a peak angle of approximately 17 degrees. This trajectory was a flight experiment to gather data on the limits of the booster's performance. Once it reached the planned splashdown area, the booster relit 12 of the planned 13 engines for its landing burn. Shortly after the burn started, an energetic event was observed near the aft end of the vehicle, followed by the loss of telemetry. Final data was received from the booster approximately 382 seconds into flight and approximately 1 kilometer in altitude above the designated clear zone. I guess the most probable cause for the failure at the landing burn was higher than predicted forces on the booster structure, specifically on the fuel transfer tube, due to the increased angle of attack experiment. Post-flight analysis showed that the vehicle loads exceeded the capabilities of the transfer tube, which is believed to have experienced a structural failure, resulting in mixing of methane and liquid oxygen and subsequent ignition. So I actually will pause there, because you know, it seems like they almost predicted that in advance. And sorry, I'm gonna actually pull up some stuff here in the background. I have so many screens up right now. You know, we tried to plan for as much of this stuff in advance.
I hear you with the screens, man.
Yeah, I got like 4 monitors, and then I have my iPad down here. But we do have some really cool shots. Where did I save this stuff from? The rollout of the new transfer tube that they have for the new version 3 booster. And Lucid, I'm uploading that right now, so you maybe should have that here in a second. And I know that's SpaceX did post some images of it as well too, so maybe I'll be able to pull that up. But they actually upgraded the transfer tube for the version 3 booster, and it is far more reinforced than it was previously. So they they dramatically improved the structural integrity of that. They actually have stringers both inside, and then they have hoop stiffeners on the outside. So it's 2 to 3 times more reinforced than what is on the current boosters. And I imagine that it would probably be able to handle that situation a little bit better than what happened um, during Flight 9. Let's see if we're able to. Okay, sorry. I guess he is not able to do videos right now, so I will see if I can find some photos of this instead. We might have to come back to that once I gather that. But yeah, so basically they had that header tank actually, or not header tank, the transfer tube actually collapsed. So if I had to guess, it's probably right underneath the common dome. I think I can show this. So do have a pretty nice model of a booster right here. I'm gonna
Nice.
pull this apart properly. So, oh gosh. So yeah, basically you have the transfer tube at the top of that methane tank, and I imagine at the top of that is probably where it's separated, and either there or at the actual landing tank. I don't know if you guys can see at the bottom there. Yeah. I would pull up a 3D render, but this was actually fairly helpful for us. I hope I put that back together properly. Yeah, so having that collapse, like I said, really good that they did that offshore, because had that happened over land, it probably would have sent shrapnel pretty much all over the entire tank farm. So good job on SpaceX thinking ahead on that one. And I'm still trying to gather this in the background. Usually, when Steven is running the stream, I'm able to do the stuff in the background and not have to worry about talking at the same time. But today we're doing some multitasking.
We did get a couple more super chats, one from, I would presume, Argentina and one from Austria. So we got some people from all over the place saying hello and giving compliments to Lab and Zach.
All right.
Yes.
All those super chats go to good use out there.
And yes, Yazada, that is very well said. It is on Flight 10, Ship 37, Booster 16. Got to restore the honor.
All right, and I think I got these. Hopefully you guys don't mind, just the pauses and talking. I feel like we're always trying to just fill every second with commentary, but sometimes you just gotta enjoy the silence. So I got some images that we should be able to show here. And by the way, I should mention, in case we have any issues with the stream today, obviously this is our first time doing this format. So, if we have any camera issues where I just happen to freeze or something like that, don't be taking screenshots and posting it and trying to, nobody ever freezes in a flattering position. It's always like doing something like that where you get stuck in a position, you know what I mean? So hopefully everything goes smooth. Shout out to Lucid for handling all this for us. Lucid, do you have those images? Did those pop through?
Should we talk a little bit about this V2 ship issue? Because I feel like in the community, the V2 is getting a lot of, I don't want to say hate, but a lot of people think that most of the issues we've observed so far in the last couple of flights were because of the version 2 ship, and a lot of people are asking why don't we go back to the V1 ship version, for example? Would that be possible? And why is it not possible, Zach? What do you think about that?
Yeah, definitely. I give me 1 second. I will send some. It's usually easier to show this with renders than it is to actually.
Oh, we got a picture on screen. Good.
Yeah, this is. We'll start with the boosters, and then we'll move over to the ships. So this
Cool.
is booster 18 as it's getting its methane transfer tube installed. Um, so yeah, SpaceX was nice enough to post some images of this, which is really cool. And as y'all can see, this thing is absolutely massive. I think it's they actually mentioned the other day. I want to say it's 3 times larger than. It's got to be more than that, honestly, because this thing is gigantic. Um, so I would say there are still some questions about this because a lot of people, well, by a lot of people I say the 3D community that spends a lot of time modeling this stuff, bit unsure as to um, whether or not there is a tube inside of the tube. So for the most part, we think that this is a solid transfer tube. However, there may be a dome at the bottom of it where it transitions into a smaller tube that goes through the actual landing tank of the liquid oxygen landing tank. Um, but the point of this is that this thing is heavily reinforced. So not only does it have all of these hoop stiffeners that you can see on the outside of it, but there are a lot of Lucid, if you could maybe show one of the images of it on the ground. Yeah, perfect. So you can see all the lines going down this thing. Um, those are interior, those are basically weld lines for the stringers on the inside of it. And that is basically the stringers that go down on the inside. The booster actually does have some external stringers that you can see if you don't know what a stringer is. But for the most part, they're on the inside of the tank, and that's what they've done with this too, is put stringers on the inside. So it basically allows it to just be far stronger than the version that on the current V2 boosters. So they've actually currently been testing this at the Massie's test site, and this is a great angle of this as well too, where you can see all of those weld lines going along going down the tube. But they basically made a smaller version of this or a shorter version of this and installed it inside of a V3 booster aft section. And over the last few weeks, they've finally been doing testing on that. So they're basically doing structural qualification testing on the um, header tank, or sorry, the transfer tube, to make sure that it will withstand the forces that they expect it to experience during flight. I'm imagining when they got the data from Flight 9, they probably subjected that test article to the same forces that they experienced then, because they really want to be able to do those aggressive flight profiles in order to save fuel, allow the booster to glide a little bit more instead of coming straight down. So yeah, this is part of making that able to happen. Um, Really cool to actually see what they're doing with the version 3 boosters. Alrighty, and I think we have Steven with us. So
Yeah, Zach, can you hear me?
yes, sir. Thanks for joining us, Steven. We were just talking about the upgrades to the version 3 booster and kind of going through the failure of booster 14 during flight 9 on its landing burn. Not sure if you caught most of that, but yeah, I think we're kind of expecting to see. I haven't read through that yet. A similar water landing, obviously, but I think they're going to go for a less aggressive landing burn. Or you may have read through that already, Stephen.
Right.
Just
Yeah.
looking
Yeah.
towards the
Zach.
objectives for today.
Yeah. In terms of the booster splashdown in the Gulf, they're going to be doing kind of a similar approach as they used in the last flight, but they're going to be doing flying with a lower angle of attack because that's what caused the failure of the transfer tube on the previous flight that caused the booster to basically explode above the ocean. So they're going to be flying at a less aggressive angle of attack on this flight to prevent that from happening. And then with version 3, as you just saw, the transfer tube should be beefed up enough to handle that more aggressive angle of attack when that begins flying, I guess, a couple of flights from now.
Yeah, I actually been thinking about this because when they say a less aggressive angle, we're talking about basically more closer to vertical, right? Instead of coming in more flat.
That's my understanding.
Yeah. So basically, I mean, I guess Flight 9 probably came in something like this. They said what it was 17 degrees, and I guess now they're going to be going at a higher angle, which is what they consider less aggressive.
Yep, that's my understanding. And then the other thing is going to be with the landing burn, they're going to intentionally disable one of the 3 center engines during the landing burn and use an engine from the the middle ring rather of the booster to try to use that to replace one of the center engines essentially for the landing burn to see how the booster responds to that. To in the future event where one of the 3 center engines fails during launch or during descent, they can use one of the middle ring engines to execute the landing burn.
Yeah, that is actually really interesting because we did see when they recovered Booster 13, we got to see some really cool images of the landing tank, thanks to Starship Gazer. I'm not sure if I can show those or not, but basically they took 3 of the engines that are in the outer ring of 10 and all of the. I may be able to show this with the model too. We're going to try. Whoa. Yeah, so basically inside of the landing tank, you have the pipes that go in basically into the landing tank for the outer 20 engines, and that's for the liquid oxygen. So blue is liquid oxygen, red is methane. And basically, instead of having the pipes go straight into the tank, they actually go into the tank and then down into the bottom of the tank where I guess these 3 magnets would be where the 3 center engines pull from. So, the problem with the outer 10 engines is that they pull from higher up in the tank versus at the bottom of the tank. And so basically these are like straws that now go down into the bottom of that tank in order to basically act the same as a center engine. So sucking from the bottom of the tank instead of up higher. So that's basically what they've done with 3 of those engines in order to allow it to be used for the landing burn. How is it supposed to go back in here? I've never actually taken it out before. Oh my god. Well, that's what you get for trying something for the first time on a live stream. Yeah, so this thing may be permanently out here like this. I don't want to break it. All right, well, we'll have to fix that later. Anyways, so basically what their goal is to disable one of the center engines. So basically you have your landing burn, which I think will be all 13 engines, or they may have one of that center engine disabled during the landing burn. Does anybody know that? Are they disabling it just for the terminal phase, or are they doing it for the entire landing burn?
I think it will be during the terminal phase, from what I understood.
Okay. Yeah.
Yes,
So
that's what it says. Yeah.
okay, great. Yeah. So basically, by disabling one of those engines, you will have the closest engine from the ring of 10, it will take over for the one that's disabled. So I guess you could say if, wow, look at this. I'm just breaking everything today, but that's cool. We don't need that one anyways. So, so if you have this engine disabled, then this one will take over. And same for this one. If this one's disabled, that one will take over. And this one and that one. So that's basically their plan, is to disable this one and have this one take over during the landing burn. So yeah, that'll be very interesting. And the importance of that is, obviously, if you lose an engine during the landing burn, you want to make sure that one of the other ones is able to take over for it. And I think they also are planning to only use 2 engines during the final phase. So when they actually are hovering, that'll be with 2 engines instead of 3. So that is what they tried on flight 9, and they're going to be repeating that again today. So that's really exciting that they're actually doing these experiments with the booster. They're not really worried about just trying to land it anymore. They're actually moving on to basically improving the actual performance of it, which is nice. I think a lot of us would rather see a landing attempt today. I know I would. That's why I did not travel down there today, because I don't know. I really want to see a landing, and it's not the same when they're not going to land it. It's like
Yes, I did. Yeah.
you get to see basically, I don't know, what, 45 minutes of prop load, and then 2.5 minutes of the ascent phase, and then that's kind of it. It's really cool when you get to see the landing, because you have an extra 6.5 minutes of activity that you get to witness. And obviously when they do the ship, you get a multi-day event where
Steven _ Starbase is what I.
flight 9, if everything went well on flight, or sorry, I think it would have happened on flight 8 if everything went well on flight 7. But I don't know. There's a chance, I would say a slim one, that if everything goes well today and we get a soft splashdown of the ship, and they do all their checkouts on the not only the heat shield but the landing hardware, they could potentially decide to catch on flight 10, catch the ship on flight 10. But I have my doubts that would happen. I think they'll wait until they get to the V3 ships before they start doing that.
Yeah, my understanding has been that originally, at least, it was after they got a flawless splashdown with V2, they would go ahead and go for a ship catch. But at this point, V3 is not that far away anymore. I think at this point you just push to that.
Yeah.
Yeah, and the design of the catch point as well is looks very different on ship 39. So I don't know if they would actually attempt catching number 38.
Yeah, I have a feeling they won't. And the other thing we're unsure of is whether or not they're willing to do it on the same tower that they're launching from. So obviously the booster comes back in on, like, they're not catching boosters right now, but their original plan was that if they did the first ship catch attempt, that it would be on Tower 2. So they would launch from Pad A and then land on Pad B, essentially. So right now, this is the second to last launch on Pad A, as far as, yeah, I mean, that's pretty much guaranteed. This is the last launch on Pad, or second to last launch on Pad A. And then Flight 12 will be on Pad B. So I don't think, I guess I wonder if they launch their first launch on Pad B, if they would be willing to land the ship on Pad A. I don't think they would, because of the larger chopsticks. I'm pretty sure they're intending on, they part of the smaller chopsticks has to do with the ship more than the booster, I think.
From what I understood, the landing rail of Tower A is not compatible with the ship landing / catch points. That's what I recall from a conversation with Ryan Ensign Space. So that's why we thought that they would attempt the first ship catch on Tower 2, basically. But if I was SpaceX in the first place, I think I would not feel very comfortable catching a ship above a pad that is like half finished and before closing all the bunker and yeah, it seems very unlikely for me. But I want to be proven wrong, of course. But
sorry, I'm just messing around with the camera controls here. We're super multitasking today.
I believe also, correct me if I'm wrong, but another reason for shortening the chopsticks is just that if we've seen, the booster catches that have happened thus far, when they touch down on the chopsticks, they're because of how long the sticks are, they actually have like a visible lean when they come down on it. Of
yeah,
course,
it's
if you
pretty
have
impressive.
if you have like shorter arms, then that could possibly mitigate that effect. I'm not sure if that's like SpaceX's rationale or if that's been like a primary reason, but I would imagine it's definitely something they've taken note of. I will also go ahead and mention to all of you in chat that if you want to submit questions to the stream for us to answer, you just have to @question in the chat, and we can pull it up on here for you.
I think what's interesting with this test program as well is that I remember when I started my channel back in I think it was 3 or 4 years ago. Everyone, barely anyone was ready to believe that SpaceX could actually catch a booster using the tower, and especially when people would see the pictures of those little catch points on the booster, they said it would be just impossible. And we used to read so many of those comments of people thinking that it was crazy or impossible, and now we're actually discussing about when are they going to do the same with a ship. So this is really, to me, what makes this project so interesting to follow is that they literally make the impossible happen, or they really defy push the limits in terms of technology, and this is what's crazy.
Yeah, I never thought in my lifetime that I would see them catch that ship. When he started talking about catching it, I was like, there's no way that they're going to do this. I mean, I was already mesmerized when they landed the SN series and the hopper and the boot, those SN 5, 6, 7, 8, 9. And it's just astounding how they can just put that right in between those chopsticks and just bam.
Yeah,
And on the first try.
Yeah,
The first try as
anybody
well.
that's been here since the Star Hopper, the SN era, including myself, will tell you the pacing has just been absolutely incredible. And as many setbacks as you might have, like what we've seen on the last few flights, it is still very admirable, the speed at which everything is moving with this program. It's completely unprecedented.
Yeah, they are definitely working at breakneck speed around here, and just putting everything. How as far as payload, how much payload are they putting up into the air these days? I mean, I think they're putting the majority of it.
Oh, sorry, I thought you were talking about Starship.
No. Oh, just the whole SpaceX in general. Their cadence is just out of sight.
Yeah, I think Elon said it was like 80% of mass to orbit.
Yeah, Starlink is an absolute beast when it comes to that.
Well, We got about an hour and 20 minutes. What do we think the chances are going to be here?
I mean, the weather looks pretty good.
Yeah, out to the west behind us, we have a little bit of rain. Not sure if it's coming our way or not, but going out east and southeast, it seems okay. We kind of got a high cloud shelf, but I think we're going to be able to do this.
Yeah, if we can pull up Raptor camera, you can actually see, or this one as well too. You can see some venting on the bottom right, to the bottom right of the launch mount. So that is one of the first vents that we normally see. We have always called this one the grass vent. So
The
basically,
grass
that's part of the pre-chill process where they are cooling down all of the plumbing within the tank farm. So it usually starts there first, and then after that, we'll actually see the same thing happen on the launch mount. So it looks like they are beginning that pre-chill process for the tank farm.
We are approaching the first major milestone on SpaceX's countdown. That's at T-minus 1 hour 15. That's when the SpaceX flight director will conduct the poll and verify that everything's go for propellant load.
So I think they,
Judging from Zach, go ahead. You may be about to say what I'm about to say.
no, you go ahead. I was looking for it, but go ahead.
Yeah, based on the countdown clock on the SpaceX website, looks like they're targeting now 6:50 p.m. Central Time for the launch, 7:50 Eastern.
Oh, they're cutting it close. We only have well, I guess we could till 7:30, 1 hour window.
Yeah, I think. Sorry, when is the window close?
7:30.
Okay.
At least that was the last I saw. It was a 1 hour window.
Yeah, I'm glad it's not any longer because I haven't had dinner yet, and I was worried that if they delay anymore, I'll be eating breakfast instead of dinner.
You don't need no food. You're a robot, just like all of us.
Man, yeah, I had breakfast, and then I did the RGB stream, and took like an hour break, and I was like, do I get food right now? I don't want to. If I eat before the stream, I'll be like tired. Everybody gets in those food comas, so I decided not to do that. Water fasting today. So we have updated the countdown clock. It's now at 1 hour and 36 minutes. Yeah, so I think where did we leave off? We were talking about the ship actually when we talked about the objectives for today and the Flight 9 report. So I'm scanning through this really quick to see if I can find that. Okay. So they mentioned that after stage separation, they did have a successful light. They successfully lit all 6 engines for ship 35. And then 3 minutes into the burn, some sensors in the nose cone detected a steady increase in methane levels. And this was actually really interesting because during that flight, they did show internal views of the ship, and you could actually see ice floating around in there. And we weren't really sure what that was from. But as it turned out, that was actually frozen methane. And so they basically were detecting that methane in the nose cone, and that caused it to actually build up pressure in there. So that they said that they were detecting an increase in methane levels, and that continued until approximately 5 minutes into the burn when pressure began to rapidly decrease in the main fuel tank while pressure simultaneously increased in the nose cone. So essentially, pressure from the main tank bleeding into the nose cone And they actually ended up, after second stage shutdown, they ended up trying to vent off some of that pressure. Let's see. Yeah, so after engine shutdown, the elevated nose cone pressure combined with planned nose cone venting led to a large amount of attitude error. So basically, as they're venting that nose cone, it actually changed it basically acted as like an RCS thruster and kind of caused the ship to start tumbling. So that error in attitude continued to build up until the vehicle's automatic fault systems disabled nose cone venting. So basically, they tried to stop it from accelerating, like angular acceleration, actually. So the attitude error resulted in the ship automatically skipping the payload deploy objective. They did try to open the payload door, but I guess, and this is the funny part, because a lot of people were talking a lot of crap about that apparently is really hard to open doors in space, but it was actually because of this issue. So they had so much pressure built up inside of the nose cone because of this leak that it was basically holding that door, because it actually pops inwards and then moves up. So because there was so much pressure against the door, it wasn't able to fight against that in order to open up. So that is the reason why that happened. Let's see, after aborting that, it automatically triggered a passivation commands on the vehicle, which was basically aborting the landing, essentially, resulting in Starship skipping the in-space burn and venting all remaining propellant into space. So Starship re-entered Earth's atmosphere in an off nominal altitude, and communication was lost during entry. So yeah, definitely a different issue than what occurred during Flight 8. I feel like we did still saw some, in the aft section of the ship, it definitely didn't look that great before shutdown. It looked like we were seeing fire coming through the false ceiling. They call it the attic as well. But it did make it to SECO. So I feel like there were still methane leaks down there as well too. But they made it to SECO. So assuming that they didn't have that issue in the nose cone, they probably would have been able to perform a normal entry. So assuming that they've solved that issue, even if they still had the same issue as far as leaks in the aft section, they probably will be able to get a lot further in their mission profile today. So, I'm staying positive for that.
We do have a question coming in here from JC saying, any idea why the 20-minute delay? Do we think it's weather? Anybody wants to take that up?
I don't think it has anything to do with weather. It looks good on the southeast and east side. The stuff behind us is slowly building, but I really don't think that's going to affect over here unless they're seeing some lightning build up that we can't see right now. You have an idea, Stephen?
Yeah, I agree with Lab. I think it's not a weather issue. Just based on looking at the sky, I mean, we're seeing lots of blue sky overhead. Some storms off to the south, some storms off to the west. But along the flight corridor from here at Starbase, looking out east, it looks really good.
Okay, well, I'm doing a little 360 here with Rover 2. Hopefully, hopefully I don't get it stuck in a.
I'm not sure if we mentioned it, but we've got super thanks as well from Don of $50. Don is saying, Lab, thanks for all of this. Your work is historic.
Thank you very much. Really appreciate that. What are you
got a
looking
great,
at?
we've got a great
I was
view of
trying to do a
Starhopper's
little
underside.
360 here so we could see what the weather is doing. I got stuck for a second, but
Yeah, there's Hopper's rump.
yeah.
I'm not sure Hopper wants us showing that.
No.
Yeah, it's not very polite.
Yeah, go ahead, go back the other way.
Oh, the other way?
Go back left. Yeah.
Okay. I guess we're not doing a
Yeah,
360 today, yo.
Yeah, there's nothing over there on that side. You're gonna look at skies.
So what was the last good decent ship re-entry that we've seen? Was it ship 31?
I believe so. Flight 6, the last V1.
Yeah, wow.
November.
So
Last November.
it's been a while. It's been a
Yeah.
while. And we
Yeah, that
still have
was-
those new flaps to test as well. Lots of stuff to test. And I saw as well on a couple of pictures of ship 37 that they actually installed some new interesting test tiles on the back of the lower flaps of the ship. So yeah, hopefully during the live stream we will get some more information about that. It's always interesting to get those views and details and comments from SpaceX just before the launch.
We did get a $5 super chat from Perpetual Nerd saying, thanks for the feed, Lab. Thank you for the donation.
Right on, Perpetual Nerd. Really appreciate that. Perpetual Nerd's been around for quite a bit.
Got a veteran in chat. And I am unable to publish it to the screen at the moment, but we do have a question from Boruda in chat saying, regardless of the outcome of this launch, when might we expect Flight 11 to happen? And is it still going to be suborbital?
I think it's still going to be suborbital.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah, Flight 11. So there's a lot of things that have to happen in between Flight 10 and 11. So they're going to have to do a static fire test of booster 15, I believe. And then they also need to do all of their refurbishments to the launch mount. So they between every launch, there's always refurbishments. So there's usually cracked welds at the bottom of the launch mount on the legs. So they're always fixing all of that. Maybe they did some pretty aggressive welding this time. So maybe the intention for that was that they wouldn't have to do the same amount next time. But after all of that refurbishment, and sometimes there's things that they end up having to do to the booster QD, hold down clamps, replacing all of the plumbing for the Raptor chill system. So when the SpaceX stream goes live, they usually show a view looking up at the engines. We'll be able to see that Raptor chill plumbing. So they have to replace all that. And then they're also going to have to do a static fire of ship 38. So once booster 15 has done its static fire, they're going to need to basically take off all of the hold down clamps. Then they put the modified ship transport stand on top of the launch mount. And then they have to cut open all of the holes that they opened up previously on the booster QD, disconnect all of the plumbing, and then put all of their temporary plumbing back up there for that ship static fire test. So that process, I feel like will probably take maybe 2 weeks for that whole process just with the ship. Luckily they're not building it from scratch this time. They took everything from the last static fire attempt and saved it for next time. So it should go much faster, I imagine. But yeah, between booster 15 static fire test, launch mount refurbishments, and the ship static fire, I imagine that will probably be a total of at least 4 to 5 weeks. You also have final outfitting of the ship.
45 weeks?
Yeah, 4 to 5 weeks, I would say. What do you think?
You mean 45 days, or did I misunderstand something?
No, 4 to 5 weeks.
Whoa, okay. Oh, 45. Okay, thank you. Hey, it's 4 in the morning here. Sorry. Sorry, guys.
Yeah, I was like, 4 to 5 weeks does not sound that unreasonable to me.
I was like shocked.
Um,
I need coffee, guys.
what were you
Sorry.
thinking? What kind of timeline were you expecting?
I don't know, but what was interesting the last couple of days is that we've seen how quick it was for them to actually reconfigure the launch table. So that was interesting to see. I remember within 17 hours, I think they managed to reinstall and remove again the hold-on clamps, and yeah, I wasn't expecting them to be able to modify so quickly the booster quick disconnect as well. So yeah, I don't know. As you said, the Ship 38 is already cryo tested. They're installing the engines right now. I have to admit as well that for a while I was convinced that they would actually static fire Ship 38 straight away after Ship 37. Obviously, that's not going to happen. And yeah, as far as 4 to 5 weeks. I was about to say 6 weeks, but yeah, 4 to 5 weeks sounds reasonable.
Yeah, I think
They need to test the booster as well, right?
yeah, yep, they do.
Yeah.
I think that one of the reasons they decided not to do static fires of both Ship 37 and Ship 38, probably a twofold reason. They probably want to get this launch done as quickly as possible, and also there's always a chance that they could have issues with 37 during this flight, and in that event, they would probably need to make additional changes to Ship 38, and then that would require them to perform another static fire test potentially. So I think it could come down to that they're just worried about something happening on this flight that requires additional retrofits to the vehicle. So yeah, I mean, I don't know. I honestly would have liked to see them just have that confidence that everything's going to go well, but I don't blame them for not being that confident. Um, but again, given that they were essentially able to take the um, the ship QD modification that they made, they were essentially able to just lift all of that off of the launch mount instead of have to take the entire thing apart. So theoretically, it should go much faster next time. So I guess it's not too big of a deal that they didn't save it. I mean, they took it like half of it apart in between the static fire test and the spin prime, and that was fairly quick. So again, I feel like that whole process for Ship 38 will probably take about 2 weeks total.
Hope vent. I see some activity on the site. I don't know if that's relevant or not, but
yeah, I can see some venting coming out of the tower. It's very, very difficult to see from this angle.
okay.
You can barely see it. I could actually.
Nice.
I wonder if I can.
But yeah, I'm guessing as well that the prep time for Ship 38 and Flight 11 will depend on the results of today's flights. If the flight goes perfectly well, we could imagine SpaceX, I don't know, modifying the ship or the booster to test some new features or I think we got some news about the.
Yep, I think
That
it is
seems
now
like-
6:45.
T0 has
6:45.
moved 5 minutes closer to us.
Okay, that's good news then.
Don't see
I
that
don't
every
think-
day.
Yeah, I was about to say, I don't think I've ever seen them move it back.
Yeah.
Is Rover 2 cam frozen right now?
Uh,
'Cause I did a
Yeah,
little zoom on the tower there. Cool. Yeah, we'll reboot that really quick and see if we can show that again.
While we're bringing that up, I think Lucid.
While we're bringing that up, I think Lucid has a photo I took this morning showing some of the tile configuration on the bottom end of the ship. Gary mentioned that a few minutes ago. Some of the interesting tile changes we're seeing there. On the left side there, you see a couple of tiles with a different configuration or even missing, or maybe that's metallic tiles that we've heard about. I'm not sure. Any thoughts on that?
They're QR codes.
I think the metallic tiles are higher up.
Yeah, I think so as well.
Yeah, they're higher up on the vehicle, so you can.
I have a photo also. I don't think I've sent it to Lucid yet, but there's another photo higher up where you see tiles that have numbers on them, like 17, 19, 21.
Yeah, so
I just found
they said they're doing multiple tests this time. Did they mention it in the? I'm sure they'll cover it in the stream today. I think they. So
the same thing they've tried the last few missions with.
Yeah, copy and paste.
the same yeah, exactly. Still trying to get that data they've been trying to get since January.
Yeah, shout out to the TPS team because
Lucid, I think it's frozen again.
We're doing a lot of work. We're doing a lot of that work and then not being able to actually see the results of it is I imagine difficult for anybody involved in that. And sorry, I'm messing around here with the camera controls. I'm actually zooming out Rover 2 camera right here. And I'm sorry, we'll get us back to the live views here in just a second. But yeah, so obviously they are removing tiles in certain locations in order to test how they perform. I'm honestly not sure how I feel about that because, you know, they obviously it's good information to have. I feel like if it was me, like number one, I guess you do want to know that before you try and bring it back to the launch site. But right now with the V3 ship, they're really focusing on how the flaps are going to perform. And so, like, I don't know if I would personally would want to introduce different variables that would potentially result in a failure. And really quick, I'm going to interrupt myself because it looks like we have some venting coming from the launch mount. You can see it from that bottom right image down there. The venting is actually coming from the launch mount. So I think that puts us, well, Lucid, is the T-minus clock updated already or? Okay, so yeah, about an hour and 11 minutes away from launch. And this is obviously the second phase, I guess, of preloading. So I mentioned the grass vent earlier. This is basically what happens after the grass vent. So after they chill down all of the propellant lines in the actual tank farm, then they move towards chilling down the lines in between the tank farm and the launch mount. And so from this view, you can also see the same thing happening from the tower. I was talking about that a few minutes earlier. So they are basically venting from the tower, venting from the launch mount, and eventually both of those vents will transition into a liquid flow. So right now so basically all of the explaining this from the tower is actually easier. So from the bottom of the tower up to the top, all of those pipes, even though they're insulated, are hot. They're not really hot. They're more like warm because they're insulated. But in terms of when you're comparing that to cryogenic temperatures, they're extremely hot. So all of those lines have to be chilled down. So as you're like pumping liquid up through there, it's going to vaporize as soon as it comes in contact with that. And so after that section of pipe chills down, then the liquid will stop vaporizing. And so that process happens all the way up the top. And eventually you start actually receiving liquid at that vent instead of gas. So that's what they're basically doing, is venting off the boil off gas as they slowly chill down all of the pipe work leading all the way up to that vent. So that is basically happening both on the launch mount and the tower. And like I said, you can easily tell once they start receiving liquid, because it's right now you see that that vent is basically has a little tail. Eventually, it'll come all the way down to the ground because it's basically liquid raining from the tower. Um, so yeah, that is a and with when it does it with the launch mount, it's becomes so thick that it ends up creating a cloud on the pad, which is really awesome.
Did get a super chat earlier from Bruce Gordon saying, "Go Lab, RGB, and CSI. Fingers crossed for plasma today."
Right on. Appreciate that.
Steven, I'm going to sign off for a bit and hop on the other stream and hope to join you guys either shortly before the launch or shortly after.
Thanks a lot, Steven, man. It was good to have you here.
I'm checking to see if SpaceX has posted anything else.
Can we get a little bit of ambient audio to hear some of that venting? All right. For those of y'all that have never been out here, it is really loud out there sometimes when these vents happen.
Sometimes having all these camera views is a bit distracting. I'm looking at like 10 views at the same time.
So someone was mentioning earlier that on SpaceX website, and if you go and have a look at the flight plan, basically they no longer display that the hot stage ring will be jettisoned. And someone was asking, is it going to stay on the booster, or is it just they just forgot to put it there?
Well, let's see. On the SpaceX, on that same site, they do still have hot stage jettison on the flight test timeline after after boost back burn shutdown. So I'm not sure what's with the discrepancy there, because I do remember them having it before, I believe. It's interesting.
Yeah. Just one of those questions that I saw in the chat.
Nice. And you can see that the venting coming from the tower is starting to pick up. Same thing with the launch mount getting a little bit thicker. Still not to the point where they're actually receiving liquid yet. You'll see it quickly fall to the ground. I think the launch mount's actually closer than the tower is as far as that liquid flow goes. Do we have the ability to show Rocket Ranch cam? Okay. Yeah, but in that bottom right image, you can actually see it fairly well. It's actually, I think, transitioning to that liquid flow right now at the launch mount. We have a lot longer distance for the tower plumbing than the ship, because it has to. They're about the same length and, until it reaches the tower. Then it has the additional length going up the tower. So probably a few seconds, maybe a few seconds or a few minutes from now, we'll start to see that flow coming out of the tower pick up quite significantly.
No one has mentioned it yet, but obviously looks like the technical update from Elon was cancelled properly, right?
Yes, it
Yes,
was
it
definitely
looks like it.
canceled. I
Not
had a feeling that might
surprising.
cancel.
Not exactly a
had-
surprise.
Yeah, I mean, if it was me, I probably wouldn't do it until after. Obviously, with this launch, that would be kind of late. But you know, I think like last time, with the way that launch turned out, he just didn't want to do the update. Um, Probably not in the greatest mood. So I don't know. I feel like I would want to have a successful launch. Like I personally probably wouldn't even do an update until everything goes well. Um, just to kind of keep the focus in the present.
I totally agree. I would have, if it was me, I'd wait till after a successful launch, or even just after a launch period.
We do have a $20 super chat from 55 Chevy guy Steve saying, "Thanks for the excellent coverage and commentary."
55 Chevy guy. Thank you, my brother. All right, so we are go for propellant load.
And I did see. Sometimes I don't pay attention to the chat because it's a little bit distracting. But I do see a question in here from Dan359, who asks, since they have had so many problems with the last few launches, why can't they just do a launch like they would do and not keep pushing the boundary of physics? I would say the boundaries that they're pushing are mostly with the booster. They did have plans to do, I think, an aggressive angle of attack with the ship. However, they didn't reach that point, So once they get past Seco successfully and don't have any issues that prevent them from reaching entry, everything after that, you might as well do some new tests. And they really want to push the limits of the new flaps. So that's kind of why they're going to do that. They've already had successful landings with the version 1 ship. So they want to basically test extreme conditions with the new flaps on the V2 ship. As far as the booster goes, they've had, was it three successful tower landings? So at this point, they want to try different things with the booster, and I think there's several reasons for that. So part of it has to do with wanting to improve efficiency. So basically, coming in with a flight profile that minimizes the amount of fuel consumption. So by minimizing the amount of fuel required for landing, you're able to get additional or use more during the actual boost phase. I'm actually thinking about that because all of the propellant for landing, at least on the lock side, comes from the landing tank. So I'm not sure if that's necessarily true, but I think that they have mentioned that that's part of the reason why, just reduce the amount of fuel for landing. And when you say
Real
fuel,
quick, Zach.
yeah, go ahead.
Real quick, Zach. I'm sorry to interrupt. I was just told here that SpaceX tweeted "go for prop load" and then
back.
oh, they deleted it and then they put it back. Okay, sorry about that.
Yeah, so they want to test these more aggressive flight profiles. I think another part of it has to do potentially with weather conditions. So if you have varying weather conditions as far as wind while you're landing, it can affect the vehicle. And so being able to perform more aggressive maneuvers is probably helpful in those conditions. So they basically want to handle all possible conditions that they may experience when they get to regular launch operations. Because and at KSC, when they're launching out of Pad 39A and Slick 37, I imagine that water landings will more than likely be off the table for the most part. Like they won't want to do that. They want to recover every single booster. So before they begin launching out of Florida, they want to handle all of those conditions and make sure that the likelihood of a failed landing attempt is as low as possible. So hopefully that answers that question. Have we touched on these donations lately?
We just
We
got one
did.
from Lucas, sorry, of $4.99. Thank you so much, Lucas.
Yes. And
Awesome.
I
And
believe we got another one
Oh,
earlier
yes.
from Erna. I'm not sure which currency that is, but whatever it is, there is 20,000 of it.
Dollars.
IDR is Indonesian rupiah. Hopefully I'm saying that right.
Yeah, I was checking as well on Google.
All right, so we were at T minus 58 minutes. Still seeing some heavy venting both on the launch mount and the tower. Still haven't seen what I would consider to be that actual transition to liquid flow on the tower. And the launch mount actually seems to have reduced a little bit, which is interesting. And just to repeat, just because I've seen people ask questions in the chat that aren't pulling through in a way where we can read them off. If you guys do have questions for us, you can submit them by typing @questions, and then that will pull it into our question bot, and then we'll answer them here on the stream. So, sorry, @question with no S.
Yes, we have been having some difficulties pulling those up on screen, but people can still put that in the chat. We can get to it.
I have seen the one of the helicopters on one of the in some of the views over here flying around, just checking to make sure the range is clear. They do also have Border Patrol. I think it's Border Patrol. Lab, maybe you can correct me on this. That usually will have boats out in the Gulf to make sure there's no range violations out there, and same thing going up the Rio. That is fine. I think.
I believe we might be missing Lab.
We got a question from Dan. What effect did the rapid disassembly of the test stand have on the program? What did they do to get around the test stand work? So that's we're talking about Massie now, and I believe they're actually, well, you just published a video about the evolution of Massie, Zach. So I think you should be the one answering this question, probably.
Yeah, sorry, I was asking some questions here in the background. Can you repeat the question?
Yeah, basically, someone was asking what are they doing exactly to fix the test stand at Massie after the explosion of Ship 36?
Oh man, quite a lot. So for one, they are completely rebuilding the methane tank farm. That methane tank farm was pretty much completely destroyed. Beyond that, they also have to redo all of the plumbing that went in between the tank farm and the actual test stand. So the plumbing, the actual electrical infrastructure, all of that was destroyed. So they have to rebuild all of that. Instead of having everything above ground, they're actually putting it below ground in a trench. So it'll be a little bit more protected. And then for all of the like valve assemblies and stuff like that, they built a bunker, a concrete bunker, to protect everything. So, you know, ideally we won't have a situation like that ever again. But in the event that we do, um, I think less infrastructure will be destroyed. I don't think it'll be to the point where you can guarantee, but less will be destroyed, which is a good thing. You know, another part of that situation is that um, the engines actually came out of the bottom of the ship. So the engines and parts of the aft dome actually came out, and damaged the flame bucket. So they had to like cut out sections of the pipe for that flame bucket and replace them. So they're still in the process of doing that currently. And it seems like that might take a little bit, quite difficult to actually do that. But yeah, I mean, essentially everything surrounding that test stand, other than the water deluge farm, was damaged. And I'm looking here at the tower vent, and that seems to be slowing down. I never actually noticed it transition into a liquid flow, but it looks like they're about to begin prop load on the ship. Okay, and the
All
vent
right.
just started again.
Working through this backlog of questions we got one from Mr. Anderson. Says, will there be a significant delay between flight 11 and 12, or do we think pad 2 will be ready in time for V3 to debut on flight 12?
It's really hard to tell what the limiting factor on flight 12 will be. So not only are you waiting for, like, we have the V3 booster 18, they've stacked most of the liquid oxygen tank. They still have the aft section to stack, or sorry, they still have to bring out the actual aft section. And then they have not started the methane tank at all. So they got to finish stacking the booster. They have finished the structural qualification testing on the, or well, possibly finished it. They've started structural qualification testing on the test tank that verifies the aft section and the methane transfer tube. So that is nearing completion, or may already be completed. We haven't seen any kind of qualification testing for the for the forward section of the booster. So they actually redid the hot stage ring to integrate it onto the booster. And so they have to do structural verification tests on that, because that's a massive, massive change. So I think they're preparing to do that. I wouldn't be surprised if they actually have a test article ready to go. They're just setting up the actual test infrastructure for that. We haven't seen them start stack. They haven't started the V3 ship yet. Well, I take that back. They have stacked the Ship 39's nose cone onto its payload section. So I guess that's technically the beginning of stacking, but they haven't rolled it into the Mega Bay 2 yet. But I imagine we will see that happen soon. And I'll come back to that question. Looking at SpaceX's tweet, they just said propellant load of Starship's upper stage is now underway, which is a bit premature because it's not actually happening yet. We still see that tower event, which means they have not started yet.
Questions that we've seen it, in my opinion, in my view, we've seen a trend.
We are seeing that venting actually start to approach the point where it's reaching the ground. You know, I do take back what I said here. I'm sorry, Lab. I think you have Steven coming through there on your side. There we go. So I do take back what I said, because this is the liquid oxygen side. So they may actually be loading methane already, because there is no vent for the methane. And I can actually see the methane pumps at the tank farm on the bottom left of the screen are rolling. So they probably have started loading methane, just not liquid oxygen yet. So with that, we are at T minus 49 minutes.
Let's see. Got another question coming in here. This one from Cosmic saying, why do they have test tiles on the shiny side of the aft flaps on the ship?
That is a good question. I don't think they explained it on the Flight 10 synopsis on their website. So I imagine they'll probably talk about it during the live stream.
Remember
Could be
they've
to test some new pins. Sorry,
yeah,
just
it
trying to
could be
guess.
that. They've done that several times before. I remember them doing that on Flight 8 and potentially before that as well. I'm not sure if we've ever gotten a concrete explanation for it, but I would imagine, like Pierre said, it is something maybe mechanical in nature with different pin designs, or maybe even
Yeah.
just trying to characterize like vibrations and stability under different loads. I'm not sure.
What's interesting this time is that they seem to have stacked a couple of ties together, or I don't know, they seem to be tested something related to the thickness of the heat ties, or of whatever they're using below the heat ties, from the pictures that I've seen. But yeah, from what I remember, also on Flight 9, they had a couple of ties on the back of the sheep flap on the. Oh, good. But yes, that's why I was saying it would be nice to see another reentry, since we haven't seen one since Ship 31. I personally miss the seeing those images, especially seeing the ship transitioning from this fight with the plasma, and then reaching the higher layers of the altitude, and then transitioning into the belly flop position. These were amazing images to see, especially live. So yeah, on screen now we can see the official picture that SpaceX published with the reflection of Ship 37 in Star Factory windows. And
Beautiful, beautiful.
Yeah, I love those. Also, they published a video of the taken from a drone with the rain. It was really. It's always nice to see those pictures. And then you have the new forward flaps that still needs to be tested during reentry, and then on the aft flaps, you kind of guess that those two black patches in the upper part of the flaps are those ties that I was talking about. I think it's 3 rows of ties. It's kind of difficult to see on these pictures. And like I said, it looks like the thickness of those rows of ties is differs from the first row to the third row to the top layer. But yeah, who knows? Could be vibration testing, or like I said, a new system to hold the ties. I think, if I'm not wrong, correct me if I'm wrong, I think on the ship block 3 version, they actually changed the way that they hold the ties onto the second stage. I think it's a different system that is now holding the star brakes in place.
Just to interrupt you here for a second, it looks like they just started loading liquid oxygen onto the ship. You can see that vent that was coming out of the tower has now stopped, which is usually the indication that they are loading liquid oxygen onto the ship. I may try and zoom on the methane tank of the ship here. I don't want to ruin the view there, but I'll at least make an attempt here.
Definitely a lot of huffing and puffing going on out there now.
Indeed, tank farm is very alive.
The ship looks crazy from this angle. The methane tank is, I think that's just the reflection of the tower.
Yeah, that's definitely a reflection. That thing is very shiny.
Yeah, can't quite see frost buildup yet, but you can. I think it's like sweating, so it looks like a, you know, a little bit moist.
Yeah.
Trying to be gentle with these camera controls so I don't mess up the view here. You can see on this the QD plumbing on the ship QD. You can see all that frost coming off of it. So, I mean, we already knew that methane loading had started, but like I said, I do believe they've also started loading liquid oxygen now. And the launch mount, however, is still venting. So they haven't started loading the booster yet. They may have started on the methane side, but they haven't started with. Actually, I think they probably have started loading methane on the booster, given how much the tank farm is actually venting. I would say they probably have started on the booster. Alrighty, T minus 41 minutes. And I believe we are about 10 minutes out from the start of the SpaceX live stream. Alrighty.
I can go ahead and pull up another question here. This is from Dan359 saying, the region, presumably around Starbase, is rich with pipelines that cover the Gulf Coast. Do they plan a methane pipeline to Starbase versus all the trucks?
That's a good question. I don't think so. So, you know, one thing that they are doing is building a large LNG plant nearby, and that is primarily for exporting. So it would load that into large LNG tankers. But I don't think that as far as I know, their plan is not to have any involvement with SpaceX necessarily. And in order to do that, and sorry, I'm just going to interrupt my own self here. It looks like the Raptor chill has started on the ship, which is yet another sign of that liquid oxygen loading. We can start to see a little bit of frost on that methane tank as well too, and also now on the LOX tank a little bit. Really weird that the tower venting just started. I'm not sure what that means. Oh gosh. Is this a scrub already?
That would be yikes.
The methane pumps have stopped. What is going on? Okay, while we wait for an update, I mean, this looks like at least a freeze of a hold, if not an actual scrub right now.
Don't say that.
I know, but I'm just looking at what I'm seeing. There's
Well,
no
in the
reason for the
meantime,
tower to
sorry.
be venting like that unless they were.
Sorry, I was
halting
just saying. In the
propellant.
meantime, we have a good view on those test tiles that we were talking about earlier, just on the left screen there.
Yeah. So sorry to continue where I left off. They are building the that LNG facility in order to actually send to send LNG to Starbase. Number one, as far as we know, Starship uses like a highly refined methane. So instead of LNG, which has a bunch of different byproducts in it, it's literally just methane. So they would have to install, basically build a facility within that LNG plant in order to purify that LNG into methane. And then they would also have to build a pipeline all the way to Starbase. And it's not necessarily that simple because you're not sending liquid methane to Starbase. You'd be sending gaseous methane. So then at Starbase, you would need a liquefaction plant in order to turn that gaseous methane into liquid, which is basically what they're planning to do at Slick 37, I believe. I'm not sure if they're also doing that for Pad 39A. I think they might be. But for sure at Slick 37, that's their plan. So it requires a lot of infrastructure, both at Starbase and at that LNG facility, if that's what they wanted to do. On the liquid oxygen and methane, liquid nitrogen. So liquid nitrogen is heavily involved in the propellant loading process. All of the venting you see coming from the tank farm is liquid nitrogen being boiled off. For that, they're building an air separation plant, which is actually just behind the tank farm. They've just started that construction a little bit ago. So they will, in the near future, be able to basically produce liquid nitrogen and send it directly over to the tank farm. So at least 75% of their road traffic for propellant loading will be eliminated. So that's a really good sign. If you still have that extra 25 cent that comes from methane, then it's still a win in my opinion as far as reducing all of that. And I'm going to take a break here and let Pierre chime in.
Yeah, I think Nate is gonna jump in a second, so I'm gonna trade spots basically. I don't know if I will be back or not, but yeah, thanks for having me anyway.
Yeah, thanks for being on with us. Appreciate you. And if y'all haven't checked out his channel yet, for all of you French speakers, his channel is called Starbase FR, so make sure to check that out.
Yes, definitely check them out. Thank you very much for being with us today. I know it's been a long day and night for you. We're looking forward to having you again here in the near future.
Yeah, that would be a pleasure. I'm actually in India right now. That's why it's been a long night for me. But I want to take this opportunity very quickly to say thank you for the English-speaking community that has been a huge support for my channel since the beginning. And I would not be doing what I'm doing without you guys, all of you guys. So thank you so much. Thank you for your help.
Yeah, thanks for being here with us.
Yes, sir.
And maybe I'll see you later.
All right. See you around, Pierre.
Well, we've not gotten an update from SpaceX yet, but in my opinion, this looks like a scrub. I probably should have stayed zoomed in right there on that tank so we could actually see if it's draining, but yeah. So I guess on the SpaceX website, they have held the clock. Still showing, yeah, 33 minutes. But that's clearly not going to be the case if they're not loading propellants right now. So and did just see in that other view a helicopter headed out there. Lab, are you the one on the camera and the the tracking cam? Surprisingly, still no tweet from SpaceX.
Yeah, lack of status updates. Interesting. Of course, you're hoping it's just a hold, but no way to know for sure.
So one thing that I was thinking about before this, when they made all of these modifications to the launch mount to be able to static fire a ship, so I think I don't know if it was the first static fire test. They ended up having to scrub because one of the flex hoses that was going to the ship was leaking. And so when I saw this, when they redid, they removed all of that stuff from the launch mount or from the booster QD, all of the ship hardware that they put on there. They haven't actually done like any kind of tanking test on the booster. So when they put booster 16 on the launch mount, I was kind of hoping that they would end up doing some sort of tanking test just to verify that all of this stuff that they unmodified was working properly. And I was actually talking to Ryan Hansen Space about this. There we go. They are standing down from today's 10th flight of Starship to allow them to address ground issues. And I literally, I told this
said it.
I told this to Ryan this morning. What did I say? My exact message. I said, let's see here. Said it's kind of surprising they aren't going to at least do a tanking test of the booster after reconnecting everything, but I guess they'll just use launch day and scrub if they find issues. Oh my God. Well, here we are. Yeah, they
Yeah, confirm scrub.
Scrubbed.
Oh.
Scrubs are better than booms.
Frickin'.
Yeah, I don't get it. I don't understand why. I don't know. I don't understand why not do a tanking test on the booster to verify that all of this stuff was working well. And to be clear, there's no guarantee that it was coming from that this issue was related to the launch mount hardware that they modified. But 1 + 1 = 2. I think it's pretty safe to assume that that's what happened. And they were just about to start loading liquid oxygen, so I'm assuming that it's probably related to the LOX flex hoses inside of the booster QD. I bet if I were to go back and look at some of the close-up images, I'd probably see some leaking coming out of the actual QD enclosure. Yeah, that is unfortunate.
I thought for sure they were going to cycle the booster one more time before this launch, and I was really surprised that they didn't either.
Yeah.
Yeah, that was a interesting decision for sure.
Looked at in the chat, Todd says because SpaceX, Zach. Yeah.
Yeah.
GG asks why assume it was the booster. Well, assume it's the booster because the ship propellant loading was well underway and they were just about to start loading liquid oxygen onto the booster, and then they stopped. So everything related to the tower is the same. They haven't changed any of that. and they modified all of they basically disconnected all of the plumbing inside of the booster QD, and then they reconnected it. I'm assuming they probably did some sort of pressure test, possibly, in order to verify. But if not, this was their pressure test. So, yeah, I think it's a safe assumption. And again, I'm also just assuming because this is what I predicted may end up happening.
We do have a Squinty Toast in chat saying earlier that there was apparently a clank and a red team went in, presumably to the tank farm. Could be something related to that. I'm not sure on the details of that. I didn't see a red team earlier, but I did see people talking about it. So could be any number of things, but like you said, Zach, I would point to the booster first as the culprit.
Yeah. Yeah, unfortunate. I think weekend launches are usually better because obviously more people can tune in. But assuming that they do it at the same time tomorrow, most people will probably at least be off work. So. Funny thing is we had Nate preparing to join us, and I think now he doesn't need to do that.
Yeah, he's not with us
It was Pierre all along. The moment he left.
Yeah. Alrighty. Well. Yeah, I think we may go ahead and end the stream here. Before y'all head out, if you could do us a favor, and even though it's scrubbed, if you could hit the like button, even though you may dislike what just happened, we would appreciate it. And at the very minimum, this was a good test for us to make sure that the new layout worked. Thanks to Lucid for putting in all the hard work to get all of this set up. I personally really enjoy it. I think it's really awesome, being able to, those of us who want to be on camera or have cameras to be on the screen. I know people like to see who they're talking to. So shout out to Lucid for handling that and putting, months worth of work into getting this to work properly. So, we got at minimum a good test in here to make sure everything was working as expected. So, yeah, I think we will probably see all of you tomorrow. And on that note, thanks to Pierre, who also left. Thanks to Caden for hopping in. And also, obviously, Mr. Lab for, putting all the infrastructure to allow us to do this, cameras, microphones, all of that. So I think I'll pass this off to Caden and then Lab, and I will see you all tomorrow.
Thanks for everything, and we will see you tomorrow.
All right. Thanks, everybody, for tuning in. See you tomorrow.